Hi, this is Down and Dirty with Angie Weller. I own an adult store in upstate New York called Expressions and Adult Boutique. I have customers come in all the time talking to me about their relationships. And one of the things that I've noticed is that not a lot of people really understand what constitutes a good relationship. You have to be in the right place yourself. You have to be capable of having a good relationship with someone in order to find somebody that's going to be attracted to that, because like attracts like. If you're chaotic and you're unhealthy and you're destructive, you're going to attract other people that are also chaotic and unhealthy and destructive. So if you're not capable of having a good relationship, you never will. You can't expect another person to come in and take care of that part. And so one of the things that I've always noticed is that people come in and they don't really understand exactly what is healthy and what is unhealthy. So that's why I went through and I made this little list. And the first thing right off that I've noticed is that people aren't allowed to do something. I hear this all the time. Oh, I'm not allowed to wear a skirt that's short. I'm not allowed to go to the strip club. I'm not allowed to look at this girl. I'm not allowed to watch porn. I'm not allowed to masturbate. I'm not allowed to have toys. I'm not allowed to fulfill my own needs, my own sexuality without my partner, because we've all been told that our partner is supposed to be fulfilling them for us. And you have to worry about yourself and your partner has to worry about themselves, because now you're putting all this pressure on somebody who doesn't really understand you. And when it comes to a healthy relationship, you can only decide what is best for you and what you need, and your partner has to understand that. If you want to show respect for your partner because you know that it bothers them, that's one thing, but when they say, oh, you're not allowed to do this, that's more of a controlling behavior. So you have to keep an eye on those things. And that goes both ways. If you don't want to be told that you can't talk to that guy at work, then you also can't get jealous when he talks to a female friend. That's just the way that it is. All right, number 2, you are afraid of them. In a healthy relationship, you don't fear your partner, you respect them. If your partner is doing things that make you afraid, those are controlling behaviors that definitely constitute an unhealthy relationship. And that doesn't have to necessarily be a physical thing. It can be they make sudden movements so that you cringe and then they laugh at you, trying to remind you that they're in control. They'll never actually hit you, but you still have that sense of fear that keeps you in your place, so to speak. And just because there isn't physical abuse doesn't mean that this is not abusive. In a healthy relationship, your partner not only understands that certain actions can become fearful, they try to put you at ease, they are aware of their own actions, and because of this, you end up respecting them because they respect you, and it becomes more of a healthy mutual respect relationship as opposed to, I'm in charge, you do what I say, and hopefully you won't realize how horrible I am and leave me. Because that's usually what's behind all of that, is there's a fear that you will understand just how bad they really are, and then you'll take off. And that's where a lot of the control comes in. All the ways that they try to control you are just signs of their weakness. It means that there's something that they're afraid of. They're afraid of you leaving them. They're afraid of you not doing what they say. They're afraid of things not going according to their scripted roles. Like they've already had something scripted out. This is the way it has to be. So all of those displays of power are just really displays of fear when you really understand exactly how they work. So every time they're saying, oh, don't do that, you can't wear that, or aren't you cold? It's really just them saying, if I don't have control of this situation, I don't know what I'm going to do. Everything is going to fall apart and I'm not going to be able to handle it. And when in reality, they really have no control over anything. They just think they do. And what happens is that their partner gets beaten down to where they no longer feel like they're in control. And it becomes this thing. And one of the things that you have to do is teach the person at the bottom, the one that's been beaten down, to regain their strength so that they can overpower this person that they've been beaten down by. When I was when I worked for the county, we had to take a class on domestic violence. And one of the things they asked us is, who has the power in the relationship? Who decides when the abuse is going to end? And being me, I'm automatically, like thinking about all the different things going on. And their answer was, oh, the abuser. It's always the abuser that has complete 100% control. They're the ones that decide when the abuse ends. And I'm like, that's complete, utter bullshit. Because the person that is being abused has the power to rise up and take back over or get out. They just have to understand the situation that they're in. They have to understand the mindset that their partner is in, and they have to be able to manipulate it so that they can gain their strength back, so that they know that all the things they've been telling her or him are just wrong. They're just completely, it's made up things that are based on their own weakness, and then it becomes more of an equal power balance. And once that's there, they're like, why am I even with this person? I can do better. So that's really where the challenge is. It's not about, you definitely got to tell people not to abuse. Absolutely. That should be number one, which we don't even do. But we need to empower the people that have been abused instead of just keeping this, oh, you're the victim. You're just going to have to run away and get out of this situation. But then they're just going to run into another abusive situation because they've already set up this role for themselves. And until they change that, they'll never get out of an abusive situation. It'll just be a different person. And they'll just be constantly a different person. And eventually, it's going to end badly unless they figure that out. So to continue on, this is number 3. If you are afraid of them and you have this fear, but they're not hitting you, so you tell yourself that it's okay. Violence and control and abuse and unhealthy relationship does not just manifest itself in a physical way. And you have to realize that not just for, your health, but so that you understand that you're not going crazy, that these are all things that are beating you down. They're all ways that's going to keep you down and keep you in control. And physical abuse is just one way to do that. It's usually the last straw for somebody who doesn't know how else to deal with a situation that they're afraid of. And everything else is just little reminders to kind of keep you in control. So you have to understand that just because there's no physical abuse, just because they've never laid a hand on you, just because they've never raised their hand to you, does not mean that you are not in a very abusive relationship. A healthy relationship, there is nothing that's abusive. There is nothing that's going to make you feel less of yourself. There is nothing that's going to make you afraid, at least from your partner. And even one of the other excuses or symptoms of an unhealthy relationship is that when they do hit you, they tell you that it's your fault, or you believe that it's your fault. Oh, you made me hit you. You pushed me to it. Look what you made me do. I wasn't like this without you. You're the only one that makes me this crazy. All these things that I'm sure that you've heard. A healthy relationship, you are not responsible for your partner's actions. They are responsible for them themselves. You can't be held responsible for what they do, what they don't do. You are not in their head. You are not controlling their body. You don't have little marionette strings that say, oh, you're going to hit me now. No, that's not how this works. If they feel like they're putting themselves in a situation where they're going to lose control and act out violently, then they have to learn how to control that. It's not up to you. And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand when they're in a relationship is they take all of this on. They take it as their responsibility. And they think that they're a stronger person or that they're a better partner because they can take more. They think that they're controlling their partner, but they're really not. It's just an excuse to control you. So you have to realize that if if that's how you feel, is that, oh, well, if I did this, or if I had the dinner for them on time, or if I cleaned this a certain way, or if I didn't make this food a certain way, then it's my fault. This is what happens as a result of that. But it's not the way that a healthy relationship should function. If there is a problem in the relationship, you should talk about it, and you should discuss it, and you should come to a mutual conclusion where that everybody is happy with. It should not be, you're responsible for my behavior in any way whatsoever. So where does this fit into BDSM? A lot of people don't understand the line between abusive relationship and a BDSM relationship that involves hitting or spanking or restraints or all of these things. And really the difference is in the consent and the control. If you are in an unhealthy relationship, no matter what you say or do, it's never going to stop. In a healthy relationship, in a healthy BDSM relationship, if you say one word, that safe word, everything will stop and you have complete control over that. If you're being hit upon choice, by choice, and you say, this is enough, then your partner respects that and respects the line and will stop. Whereas in an actual abusive relationship, you're being hit because your partner feels a loss of control, is trying to control you, and no matter what you say or do, please stop, no, I love you, whatever the case, it doesn't stop. And that's the difference, is that you are in control of what happens to your body. And that's where a lot of that's where the line is control of your own body, being able to make everything stop. Another thing that I've noticed in an unhealthy relationship, and a lot of people don't understand that this is an unhealthy relationship, they think this is just the way that it is a lot of people expect their partner to change for them. They think that if you love me, you will no longer do this thing that you've done before that was so bad. If they used to cheat all the time and now you expect that because they're with you, they're going to stop doing that, that's not the way that it works. If they used to go out and party all the time and now you expect them to stop doing this, that's not the way that it works. You have to understand this is who your partner is, this is who they will always be, and you have to be willing to accept them for that. If you can't handle this particular behavior for the rest of your life, you shouldn't be with the person, because you can't expect them to change. And you can't expect them to change because you ask them to. You don't get to dictate who a person is. You don't get to tell a person what their personality should be. You don't get to decide what is the best life for them to live. If you cared about your partner, if you really love them, you would allow them to be themselves. If they are a flirty kind of person and that's just who they are and they go through life flirting with everybody, you have to accept that. You can't all of a sudden expect that they're going to just stop talking to people because you ask them nicely. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, and they think that sometimes all it takes is just the right woman to come along and turn him into a great guy. It's unrealistic, it's unreasonable, and it's really not fair, because you have an idea about the way your life should be, and instead of accepting another person for who they are, you're expecting them to fit into the roles that you've defined for them. And that's just not fair, and it's not healthy. Number 7. To go along with number 6, this is, if they love you, they will blank for you. And it doesn't necessarily mean change, but if you love me, you will go buy me a thing. If you really loved me, then you would never talk to this person again. If you really loved me, then you wouldn't have to masturbate. If you really love me, then whatever the reason is, you can't set expectations for your partner, for your love. If you really loved them, you would not have expectations based on minuscule things. That's not the sign of a healthy relationship. You have to love them for them, not what they can do for you, not the actions they perform, it's not a checklist of, if you really love me, then you have to do this and this and this and this and this. That's not how a healthy relationship works. You love the other person and you do your best to do things for them. That's how you show love. You don't have expectations of what they do for you. Instead, you say, oh, I know my partner loves a thing, so I'm going to do this for them. And it's more about showing your love than making them prove their love to you. Number 8, in an unhealthy relationship, you need your partner in your life. You can't imagine your life without them. The idea of losing them sends you into a panic. You feel like if you were alone, your entire world would come crashing down. You would be broke without them. You would be homeless without them. You would be useless, unlovable, whatever the case may be. But in an unhealthy relationship, you feel like you need your partner. In a good, truly healthy relationship, it's not about a need for your partner, it's about a want. You don't need them, but you want them. You can still exist without them. You can still have a great, healthy, fully functioning life without this person, but you prefer that they were there. They make your life just a little bit better, but that doesn't mean that you need them. Number 9. You imagine your life together a certain way, and anything else is unacceptable. In a healthy relationship, you are open for anything, and you have no expectations for your life together, and you learn to be happy with no matter what life throws at you. If you have a script that things are supposed to be a certain way, if I'm supposed to get married at this particular time and I'm supposed to have kids after a certain number of times, I'm supposed to have this many children and we're going to do this thing and we're going to go on vacation here and we're going to go here. If you've already set this plan out for your life with your partner, not only are you going to be sorely disappointed because nothing ever goes according to plan, but it's also unfair that you're dictating this other person's life without their input, without their knowledge even, because you've already had this thing established way ahead of time. So you have to not have those expectations on your partner. You can't create a fantasy in your head and then expect your partner to live it out in order for you to have a successful relationship. A healthy relationship, you want certain things and you discuss them and you come to a mutual agreement if they are not the same. But you have to be willing to change, you have to be willing to bend, and you have to be willing to go with the flow because nothing ever goes according to plan. And if you're not willing and able to work with that and adapt to that, then you're never going to have a healthy relationship. So a good example is if somebody says, you should do this thing. You should, if you loved me, you should be doing this. Because you're my mom, you should be doing this for me. Because you're my sister, you should be treating me a certain way. Because you are my boss, you should be doing these things for me. Those are all it's all based upon a fantasy that you're trying to impose on other people. And that's not fair, it's not healthy for you, and it's gonna push people away from you. Number 10, in an unhealthy relationship, you feel like your job is to make them happy. It's to make them trust more, to make them better at whatever, to make them feel safe, to make them successful. You feel like you have a role to improve your partner in some way, and you live vicariously through their successes, or you feel that it is your job to make your partner feel a certain way or be a certain way. But what that does is it doesn't take into account that this person that you're with, your partner, has their own responsibilities for making themselves feel a certain way. You can't make them happy. You can help them be in a situation where they will be more happy, but that's ultimately on them. You can't make them successful. They have to be successful on their own. You can't make them better at XYZ. That's on them. And when you take on that responsibility, not only are you, it's unreasonable, it's unrealistic, you're never going to accomplish it, but you're also deflecting from your own goals, your own shoulds, your own aspirations. Instead of saying, I'm here to make my partner successful, your mentality should be, I'm here to make myself successful. I'm here to make myself better. I'm here to make myself kinder. And it should be more about what you can do for yourself as opposed to ways that you can improve your partner, because you can't do that. Only they can improve themselves. Number 11, in an unhealthy relationship, you feel like you are lucky just to have anyone in your life. You are willing to put up with anything. You're willing to deal with any problems. You're willing to deal with any fault of this person because you don't want them to leave you. And this all goes back to the one where you feel like you need this person in your life. And you have to realize that it's better to be alone than with the wrong person, because you have to learn who you are by yourself, not in a relationship. And when you're with the wrong person, they bring out the worst in you. They're bringing out all the bad things. They're making you compromise, or you're forcing yourself to compromise. You're forcing yourself to fit into a box that you don't belong in. And so sometimes you just need to step back from that unhealthy relationship with just anybody because you're alone and you just want to have a warm body next to you at night. And you have to realize that you are worth more, and in that process you become worth more. You become a better partner, you become a better person, so that the next person that you're with is a little bit better and a little bit better for you. Number 12, they don't see the real you. They have an image of who you are. They've already decided who you are, and they've never really allowed you to be yourself. In a healthy relationship, your partner knows you better than anyone, and they love you for that. A lot of people, when they're in relationships, it goes back to that fantasy, like, this is how I'm supposed to be. This is how my partner is. This is how all women are, so this is how you are. And there's never an opportunity for you to be any different because they've already imposed a role on you. And it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you say. They're still going to see you a certain way. They're going to still see you the way that all the biases that they have. They are going to still see all those stereotypes. They're going to see all the things that they feel about you or your gender, and that's what they're going to impose on you. And in the end, they never actually see the real you because they're dealing with all this other stuff. It's all these other biases that they had before. All these other, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is the way that you are. And they will never know that. People have all these biases about the way you are, of what their expectations of you are, and what they think that you're thinking, what they think that your intentions are, what they think that your motivations are, and what they think that you're doing. So when they don't see who you are, all they're seeing is a person that they're projecting all these biases and ideas onto. In a healthy relationship, you get to be yourself. You get to explore whoever you are. You get to try new things, and your partner understands who you really are. A good example of not being seen, of a person not having their partner see them as the real them. I have I was talking to someone, and she was not very interested in having children. That really wasn't in her hit plan. She wasn't really interested. It just wasn't something that she was thinking about. She just kind of wanted to find a partner and have some adventures together and just kind of live for a little while before she got into the whole children, take care of, do the whole family thing. And this person that she was dating really wanted the family thing and kept talking about it like this was just an inevitability. And even though she had told him, this is not really for me, he just kind of ignored that and said, well, she's, assumed that because she was a woman that she's just going to eventually want children, and just assumed that she didn't really know what she wanted. It was just, if we do it, she'll like it anyway. And he already had these projections on her of the way that she should be. And he never really saw the true her, because all she wanted was to just have adventures and to have a good relationship and be with a partner. And that never even occurred to him that this is something that they could do or was an option. It was always about, I'm looking for a wife. I'm looking for somebody to raise my children. And you're here. I love you. You're great. So now you're going to be this wife. You're going to raise my children. You're going to do all these things. And he never took her needs or wants or desires into consideration. And he never saw her for who she really was. He kept saying things like, oh, if you just wait a little while, if you really see the babies, you'll really fall in love. And every time they were around babies, he'd be like, oh, isn't it really great? And even though she kept telling him that this is not what she was interested in, he kept seeing a mom. He kept seeing a mother. He kept seeing this wife that he had already decided he wanted and was just looking for somebody to fill that role. And once she realized that he never really saw her, he just saw a person. It could have had any face on it with any needs, any desires, and it really didn't matter. He was just looking for a person to fill that role. And in a healthy relationship, you don't have roles ahead of time. You haven't decided, I'm going to do these things and I need my partner to do these things. You find a connection with someone and you decide who's better at it. And that's their role, and you talk to them, and it's more of a mutual understanding. And in that mutual understanding, you really get to know who your partner is, and your partner really gets to know who you are. Because a lot of times people get lost, especially when they have that projection, have those ideas projected on them. They don't even know who they are anymore, because they've already put themselves into a role. So these 12 points are not complete. There are other indicators of a healthy or unhealthy relationship. And it doesn't mean that if you are doing something in the unhealthy relationship that you should dump your partner immediately and try to find someone else. It means that you have to think about these things. It means that you have to consider all of these things that are going on. Really think about your relationship. Think about who you are in your relationship. Think about what your wants are, what your desires are, and think about what your partner's wants and desires are. If there's one thing that I think that you should take away from this, it's knowing that you are not stuck. There is no forever. This doesn't have to be the way that it is forever. There are ways to grow. You can actually go from one side and turn your relationships into healthy relationships. But it's going to take a lot of self-work. It's going to take a lot of introspection. And sometimes it takes being single for a little while to really work on yourself. Being in a relationship is hard to do self-work because you're so worried about your partner, you're so worried about the relationship itself that you don't get to work on who you are, what your needs are, what your wants are, and what you deserve. Whether you feel like you deserve, to be treated like crap, that's what you're going to get. Or if you feel like you deserve to be treated great, that's what you're going to get as well. And so you really have to take a look at these and decide for yourself if this is something that you're willing to live with, if you're willing to deal with this, or if you really want to improve yourself, your relationship, your future relationships. In the perfect world, all these things are great, but what if it's not a healthy family? What if there's abuse? What if there's, sexual abuse? What if there's mental abuse? What if there's everything? And you can't have all these lofty goals placed on a family that is just trying to survive till morning. It's just completely unrealistic. And that's the same with relationships. I'm not saying that anybody who's in a relationship in order to work on themselves has to leave their partner. I'm saying that if you're in a shitty relationship, if you are in an unhealthy relationship and you know it's not doing you any good, you have to get out of it so that you can work on yourself and make the next relationship even better. Intro. Hi, this is Down and Dirty with Angie Weller. I am, crap.